Hey guys, Trev from the Struggling Artist Podcast, and I want to talk to you real quick about Struggling Artist Record Club. The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today.
Hey, this is Rev from the Drowns, and if you still believe in rock and roll, then keep the dial set here at the Struggling Artist Podcast.
You're listening to the Struggling Artist Podcast.
People need to be entertained. They need the distraction.
With your host, Trev Allen.
I wish to God that somebody would do something to block out the voices in my head for 5 minutes.
Welcome to the Struggling Artist Turntable, favorite albums of 2024. In this episode, we will talk about our favorite albums that dropped from this year, as well as our favorite picks from the Turntable episodes throughout the year. With me today, Jeff Bousquet. What's up, Jeff? Chris is missing in action. We hope he's all right. Hopefully he'll hop in. But we're gonna go ahead and get things going. First I want to say, I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but the whole favorite album thing, it started in 2020 when I had relaunched the podcast in 2019 or beginning of 2020, and then I moved back to Massachusetts, and I was I was gonna quit the podcast. I wasn't in a good place. Got talked off the ledge kind of thing, and at the end of the year, I was like, well, I got nothing to post. So let me do the albums that I discovered this year that got me through the year. Actually, it was they were all different. They were from different years, but that's kind of how it all started. And then from there, we started the Turntable stuff, and here we are. This is pretty cool. It's a pretty good evolution.
Yeah, I think I heard that first episode.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. With the recap. Or one of the first ones that you did.
Yeah, it was just me. It's just me rambling about records.
The one that I remember was with you and somebody else. So
okay.
Maybe that was the following month.
Yeah, that might have been the next one when Chris had signed on with us. So, it was it was weird. It was just it was a weird time for me, and it was one of the things that for me with music, music has always been something that helps me, right, mentally. And I didn't have that for a long time. I just kind of I was just listening to the hits, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then when COVID happened and we got locked down and I was already going through some shit, I started to really like dig into new music again, and that's kind of where it kind of just spawned from, you know.
I was just talking to Tom from No Trigger last night, and we were talking, Tom and Mike Doyle from Massive Nightmares, who we're gonna talk about, and we were talking about like, I don't know, a little bit of like brief thing about origin stories and places we had worked, and I was like, yeah, I was McGann's. That was the first like live sound gig I had. he asked me, I think Mike asked me something about if I had done sound, and I was like, yeah, for 13 years I was a live sound engineer. And I was like, McGann's was the first like officially like venue, quote unquote venue. It was a corner of a bar that we dragged a PA out on, and it was like that's how I heard the Radicals and A Minor Revolution, and they played a show together, and that was my first coming back to the Boston punk scene. It was like I had this revelation that I was like, oh shit, and I've come to realize this now, that I'm like so much closer to the person I was when I was like 16, 17, 18 years old in high school. And now like those two people are like like the same, like it's my true self really. But somewhere in the middle, like from age 20, like age 19 through 23 or 24, something like that, like the 4 years of college and then like the couple of years afterwards, I just have no idea who the hell I was trying to be. I was a loathsome person. I look back at pictures of myself and posts and things, and I'm just like, I have no idea what kind of awful jackass of a human being you were trying to be. But I went through that period of time too, where it was like, I listened to a lot of, and it's not that I think music like controlled it, but it was more of a side effect. Like I just listened to a lot of like random other stuff. I had kind of ventured away from the punk rock roots I had kind of grown up on in high school, and like the pop punk and emo and hardcore and post-hardcore and all that kind of stuff that was like big during the mid 2000s. I like ventured way away from that, and then like got into my mid 20s and like had this whole coming back through my job and through like connecting with all these amazing people. And that's how I met like Aria and Ryan and Zach and Jameson and all these people. Like, so yeah, it was like, I feel like a lot of people have similar type of origin stories. We were talking about this last night, and they were all kind of saying like, yeah, like, you know, it's like there was some moment where you kind of came back and realized like, and for me, it was like, I realized that the scene was still here. It was thriving. And I was like, oh, there's all these people that are just like the people that I was friends with in high school, but now we're all adults. And it's like, these are my people, like they're here. And, yeah, it was, I credit that, as horrendous as that job was, it was awful, with connecting me back to like my musical roots. And then therefore I think kind of like my personal.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what happened with me. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like, and I don't know. So one of the biggest things was like Off of Their Heads really resonated with me during that time. So like that got me really in like out of the funk that I was in, or at least made me less funky, you know what I mean, than the funk I was in. But like, yeah, and then when I came back and then like we started doing the podcast, and we're still doing the podcast. I was still doing the podcast, and like just like reaching out to some people that I just knew from music. Not that I didn't know them, but like, you know, I knew their music or I knew what they were involvement with the music industry was. So like, yeah, it just kind of opened up. And yeah, it's tough sometimes to feel accepted for me. But I feel like I am, you know what I mean, in this community. And like, it's great.
You very much are. You're not just accepted, you're respected, revered.
Thank you.
I would venture to say.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
There's a reason why people are asking you to MC their events.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I just, it's hard for me to accept that sometimes because like I was never a musician and I wasn't here from the beginning. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But I wasn't either. I was always behind the scenes.
I was always just pushing the faders and like, just like being the guy that was running cables and doing everybody's sound and taking pictures and like, you know, I was always band adjacent. And so I always felt that way too. I always felt like I was like on the outskirts a little bit of the scene.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, we're both in it now, right? Or at least, or we're both in it, and we both realize that. I hope now. So, yeah, it's so like, yeah. So that first list is what got me out of like the worst funk I think I'd ever been in at that point. And it was, and it's good that it got me out of it. So we kept the tradition going. We do our favorite albums. And then when we started when we started Bandcamp, the Bandcamp Fridays, Roundtable, Turntable, whatever you want to call it now, like it made sense. You were the first one to be like, hey, can we bring stuff from like that year? I'm like, oh, like what? Yeah, of course we can. You know what I mean? Cause it was like, yeah, it made sense. So, I'm happy of the evolution of this thing, I guess, is where I'm going with it.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm happy I'm still alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
So
we all are.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a big thing that I just wanted to like I was thinking about it today and like really like I was sitting there and I was like, oh shit, like this thing is like, this podcast like has kept me alive. And I thank my cousin Dan a lot because he's the one that was like, I told him I was going to quit the podcast because I was like ready to fucking go away forever. And he talked me out of quitting the podcast and was like, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? So I love him to death for that too. So
yeah, he's a good guy. And it's amazing how the artistic endeavors that we put our energy into, they're more than just on the surface when you think about it that way. So yeah, it's important to keep up with this. And that's one of the reasons why I love this show. I love doing this. And I think, as much as I roll my eyes at the BMAs, I'm going to be fully transparent about that. I always am. I always take it with a grain of salt, but we were there the other night and it does I do have those moments where I'm like, I'm glad to know that all of the human beings who are band and artist adjacent are at least in a room and recognized in some way. Cause it like, regardless of the awards and who wins, but like just the knowing that like the people who do the radio shows, the people who book the people who manage the venues, the people who book the shows, the people who do the journalism, the people who do the lighting design, like everybody, it wouldn't exist without all of the people, the infrastructure holding it all up, And so this show is important and people like us matter. And it's good to be reminded of that every once in a while. So
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will say too, we both, we went to the VMAs. I loved I got sketched out with how many people were there, but like after a while,
it's overwhelming. Yeah, it's very overwhelming.
But like it was really cool to see the diversity there, and like it wasn't like not everybody was like, it was kind of everybody was everywhere. It wasn't like we were in pockets. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was kind of spread out. I really liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. That's like, that's what a community is. I mean, there was people that were dancing to like all the bands. It didn't matter who it was. You know what I mean? They were still out there dancing around. I liked that. That was cool. That was a cool thing to see,
Yeah. Everyone's in good spirits at that event.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good time. I had a good time. I'm not going to lie. I had a good time. So, all right. Well, now that we just did that, let's take a quick break and then we'll get into our top 5 albums of this year. Not top 5, favorite, right? Favorite 5. Like who are we to say what the best is? We just know what our favorites
just
are.
Our favorites. So, there were so many.
Yeah. So I got something for you. All right. We're ready? I'll be right back. All right, and we're back with our picks for 2024. This sucks. This was a hard thing to do. There was so many good albums this year. I don't know. Yeah,
it was. Like
much.
I just sat down today to like go through it all, and I was like, oh, there were so many good ones this year. It was great, which is like not a bad thing. It's hard. It's really hard to narrow things down to like your top 5 because you're like, well, I don't want to be offensive to anybody, but I'm not like, but it's not that. It's just like, yeah, there's so much great stuff.
There was a lot that had to go into like making my 5. And then like I have an honorable mention list of like LPs. And then I have like 2 EPs that I mentioned. And then I call this one the Turntable Finest, which is like 2 things I discovered because of the turntable. And then I just have a list of names of people that push shit out that I was like, how do I not just say their name? You know what I mean? It was crazy. So, I mean, like like I said, back in 2020, like not a lot of people were doing anything, right? Because of what happened. So people who just put out albums like right before the pandemic or whatever, like I was able to spotlight some of those, but there wasn't a whole lot going on because of everything. 2021, kind of the same thing, right? And then we got into the swing of things and things were good, but like I don't think I've seen a list this stacked for me yet.
In my like view, for some reason, like I don't know, I will always think of COVID as being like 4 years. Like it just feels
like it feels like we're still in it.
It really wasn't 2024 at all, but like just the effects of it lagged so long that like I just think of COVID as like 2020 to 2024 is like COVID. This year is the first year like I've actually like felt like was normal. I don't know. Anyway, right. Like yeah, like it like ended. I feel like COVID ended this year, but it didn't really. It kind of ended earlier, but like it just it didn't end. It's still very much a thing, but like the like social effects of it, you know. So I have 5 honorable mentions. I was just double checking to remember the name of one because like sometimes that happens too, and I'm like, wait, what was the name of that album?
Did that link work for you that I sent the other day?
Oh yeah. No, I feel like such an asshole because I always ask you to resend that link because I'm just an idiot and I always forget where it is. But I'm so glad we have that because it does get to be a blur sometimes. You're like,
and it's a public list. I want everyone to know if you go to the strugglingartistpodcast.com or podcasttsa.com and you go into the shows. You could if it tells you like each one of our shows that we have, but the Turntable has a link that goes to a spreadsheet for everything we've done so far. So it's cool. It's a nice little thing. I gotta update it though. I haven't put in December or November's yet. So, but we'll get there. All right. So are these like, are you ranking these or are these just like 5 in any particular
My honorable
order?
mentions are not in a particular order. My main top 5, I kind of came up with a little bit of a rank.
Okay. Do you want me to go? You want to kick off our?
Do we want to?
top?
Are we doing each? Are we each doing our 5, or are we doing one and one back and forth?
Yeah, we'll do 1 and 1 back and forth,
Okay.
and then when we get to our honorables, we'll just ramble off our lists.
All
You know
right.
what I mean?
Sounds good.
So, do you want me to kick it off?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so my number 5, I almost forgot that so much music came out this year. I almost forgot this album came out this year because it feels like forever ago because so much was released throughout the year. I just felt like this was 2023, but then I was like, no, that came out this year. And it was a record club choice too. Middle Out's self-titled album. This thing is just like high energy punk rock all the way through. They're from Detroit. They're awesome. I know they're going to be on other people's lists, who do these kind of things. And, I can't say enough good things. Like every track is awesome. Like every track is so good. And this was their debut album. So I can't wait to see what comes next from them.
Sweet. So number 5 for me was, the band. We brought it, this year. It was, I want to say it was like May. I want to say it was like May that we brought it. Again, I'm not looking at the master list. I should go back and look at the master list. But it was the band Barnstar. They spell it all caps with an exclamation point. Barnstar. Like Snuggle. Snuggle! Barnstar's album Furious Kindness was kind of a sleeper hit for me. Like it was one I found for our X Factor, I think, that month, and I just thought it was rad. Just a really cool sound, just like cool folk rock stuff that's like I don't know, positive lyrics. I really dug it. It was just like one of those ones that stood out for the year of kind of a surprise and like a cool find. And
They're local too, right?
they were local guys. I was like really stoked that they were from here.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I don't know. I haven't seen anything of them like playing any shows, but like. Hopefully maybe they will, and we'll
that'd be
get to see
awesome.
them. Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I feel like you and I trying to go to shows is becoming more of a thing too. Like we're trying to line up like, hey, what are you doing Friday? Are you working? Are you not? Because I'm gonna go see X, Y, and Z, and like we're trying to do that more.
Yeah. So that'd be a fun one to go check out too. Different, totally different. Like I don't know, like vibe, I guess, from what we normally would go to too, right? So like sound, I guess sound would be, but
yeah.
All right, my number 4. This album absolutely blew me away. and like I've seen them live, and they're awesome live, and I don't know, I can't say enough good things about the band Hell Beach. Beach World. Woo! Beach World was just a freaking barn burner of an album. You know, I know like it went out to like a bunch of people from the label they're on, or their label they're adjacent with, and that's awesome because like there's a ton of people who do their their yearly label subscription or whatever. So pumped for them. They came out swinging with this one. I really, really liked Beach World. So
Hell Beach, hell yeah. Yeah, we love those guys. I mean, Corey's a homie, and Jordan's really cool. And I've met Brendan as well from that band. They're all super nice guys. But that was definitely like a smash hit record of this year locally for sure. And again, this is like what I'm saying. Like, there's so many, and I didn't want to like not. It's really hard.
It's funny because like one of my honorable mentions is adjacent like to Hell Beach. Yeah. So, you know, so we'll get into that.
And I've got almost all local on my top 5 here, except for one that I actually put into my top 5. So my number four is Mercy Ruin's album Worship, which I don't remember exactly what the release date on that was. It
was early this year.
It was technically 2024, right?
Yeah.
Blake is an awesome guy. I got to hang out with him in New York really randomly. We ran into each other at a show. Tom from Massive Nightmares had extra tickets to a show that he couldn't use, and so he gave them to me, and I wound up down there, and then I ran into Blake from Mercy Ruin, and so we caught up. But I got to open for them. I got to play at O'Brien's back in June, and that was super fun. They are like 80s, like late 80s, dark wave, Cure kind of like punk stuff. I don't know what exactly they call themselves, but it's really good. And it's been a running theme for us on the show this past like year and a half of me with like 80s stuff, and all of us with 80s stuff really. But like that sound and that vibe, I fucking love it so much. And they do it really, really, really well. Their energy live was great. So they're my number 4. Stoked to have discovered those guys this year.
Now in the vein of like the synthy gothy stuff, my number 3, another local, Gossip Collar, Spinning Silk for Parasites. This album blew me away. I listen to it all the time. It's all these, my top 5. One thing about my top 5 is they're all like start to finish. Like you listen to the whole thing. You know, you don't skip around. You don't do that. Gossip Collar, I don't think I brought them. Maybe we brought. I think I did. I think I did bring. Yeah,
they're on the list.
For the Turntable. But now that the album's fully out, like it's so good. Yeah, and they'll be on the podcast soon. I talked with them recently. So, members of some local bands from back in the day. 2 members of the Showcase Showdown, as well as Spitters, I think was the other one, and Secret Heart. Awesome stuff, hands down. Like this is like I think I describe it as like gothy post punk. No, like synthy post punk, like just awesome music. It makes you want to dance too. Like it's cool. It's got that like kind of like I just want to like dark wavy kind of thing going on. So for sure, check out that one. Spinning Silk
Gossip
for
Collar
Parasites
in October.
That's right. Yeah. It was only 2 songs out at the time, I believe, too, at the time. So the whole album's out there. Go check it out. Go check it out.
Hell yeah. My number 3, which I'm sure is on your list maybe too, is our pals in Purgatory, your friends in hell. They're No Heroes, Are We Alive, or The Last Time We Were Alive, sort of split EP, or
when we were alive. Yeah. That, the No Heroes, right? The 2 little. Yeah.
Mostly for me, this was a big one. This was a big one because those songs are songs that we've now been hearing for a very long time that they play live. And there's always that gratifying moment when a band brings their like the hits, if you will, like they play the hits live and then like they finally record it. And so you finally like have the full version of the song and you're kind of like, you can kind of like dive into those lyrics that maybe you miss when they're performing it live because it's live and you don't catch it. And like, you don't want to be super nerdy or awkward and ask about it afterwards, but you like kind of can finally sit down and be like, oh, cool. Now I can like, really absorb the song. And so that was a big one when they finally dropped that this year. I was like, hell yeah. Now we finally have like the physical copy of the music we've been hearing for the past, 6 months, year or so, whatever, it's a standard staples of their set. But they're our pals. They put out really cool music. It's like spooky folk stuff, big Halloween vibes. But like, I think Squall said something on your episode with him recently about how like Your Friends in Hell, they do spooky, but in a friendly way, or something about like they do spooky in a inviting, warm, like humorous way that is different than people who do spooky in a death metal way or spooky in a Bridge City Sinners way, which also I think is a little bit humorous, but like, there's different vibes, and Your Friends in Hell do it in a very specific way that is very inviting and warm and not off-putting in any way, which, yeah. So
So they're in my honorable mention for EPs. So I'll just touch on it real quick. You're absolutely right. And like they like, it's, you almost forget that they're like a spooky band. 'Cause like, they're so like friendly and welcoming, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
They
wear zombie makeup, but they're like the nicest people in zombie makeup you've ever met.
Yeah, there's an episode. I did an episode with them too, by the way. It comes out in 2 weeks. It comes out on the 30th. So
can't wait.
I guess that'll be in a week, right? In a week, yeah, it will come out. So yeah, it was really fun to talk with them. And like I told them how when we were alive, when I heard it, like after I bought it, like it made me like ugly cry. So
it's one of those for sure.
It brought me back to that night at the Rockwell that we all went to.
Yes.
And it was a really special night, I think, especially when that song was playing. 'Cause like that's when I realized how many people were there, because everyone was seated, and then
this was the night that Thou Merciless Graves did their sort of, it had been their first show in a little while. And, they did the whole Wrath of the Selkie play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that was really cool. So, all right. That was your number 3.
That was my number 3.
Yeah, number 3. Yeah, my number 2 is the only one on my list that is not local. And I don't have to talk much about them because we talked about them last month. The band is called Yes Ma'am, and the album is How Many People, How Many Dogs. I can't get enough of this record. Like between that one and my next one, I have spun the record like almost 10 times. That's just the record, not counting like the digitally listening all the time. Like I bought it, you know what I mean? I would love to get Yes Ma'am on this podcast. I would love to see them live. I hope I get a chance to at some point,
At least Lightning Luke,
Yeah.
Because he does some solo stuff too.
Yes. I think I have Lightning Luke's record too here. So man, I don't know. This is another one you don't skip a song on, like it, and like it's like I said in the episode. I literally just talked about this a month ago, so I don't want to dive too much, but like it's like sinisterly fun music, and I'm totally on board with it, So Yes Ma'am, How Many People, How Many Dogs is my number 2 of 2024.
Hell yeah, they're on my honorable mentions list. I'll mention it later, but that record's so much fun. And like just it's like an adventure. I definitely, yeah. My number 2 is also my only non-local. But I did bring them to the roundtable. Everything on my main top 5, I did bring to we did have on the roundtable. I didn't bring them all, but we did have them all on the roundtable this year. But my number 2 is the New Jersey band Late Waves. Their self-titled record. I love this record, and I got to meet them at Pooza Fest and see them play at Pooza Fest. I shared Jameson and I stayed at the same hotel as them at Fest 2 years ago, and outside at that hotel, there was a fire pit, and at that fire pit, everybody was like hanging out at night, like, after the day was done. And I met the bass player, Howie. And then they had a different bass player filling in for them just temporarily, because like Howie couldn't do the tour that they were going up to Puza like the following year or whatever. So I like kind of like met their bass player, and then like a year later met the rest of the band. I met Mike, I'm pretty sure his name is Mike, the front man and lead guitar player, and the drummer. And they're like super, super nice people. I love their music. It's just, it falls in this sweet spot of pop punk and like folk rocky ballad, pop punk though, like just kind of like stuff that you want to sing along to. And like their lyrics are kind of, I don't know, they hit me in a little bit of an emotional place when I listen to like what he's actually singing about. And I'll never forget, they played Puza, and I got to meet them minus their bass player wasn't there. They had a sub, but and then the next day they were playing at O'Brien's on their way back down to New Jersey. And even though it was the Monday after a fest, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm going to be there. And I was very tired after driving 5 hours back from Val's house in Montreal, and like got home, and I was like, I'm going to go to OB's. And I had so much fun, like just hanging out with them and like seeing them play at OB's. And they played with Mike Cain that night, I believe, if I remember correctly. And they played their song Italian Smokes, and their lead singer Mike just gets up on stage and he's like, "You guys got Italians here in Massachusetts?" He's like, or in Boston. He's like, "You guys got Italians in Boston?" He's like, "In New Jersey, we got Italians." And like the song is like kind of a metaphor, a little bit or whatever, but like he's like talking about people. he's like, because in Jersey we got Italians, and coming from an Italian family, it was just a great moment. It was just hysterical. And then they played Italian Smokes, which is a fucking fantastic song. They're an amazing band. I love this band so much. So thank you to them for entering my life this year. Stoked to hopefully see them again soon. I didn't make it to Fest this year. I don't know if they played Fest this year, but yeah, love that band.
Awesome. I remember you bringing them. You brought them to the round table, yeah. Or to the turn, yeah. All right. Well, we're at our number ones. I wonder if they're the same. Probably not. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. We're about to find out. So my number one, it is no surprise to anybody. I've been talking about this record forever. A week ago, from this drop date, from this episode, a week ago, I just ranted about it with the Record Club recap. Right? It's "Dream of Fire" by Coffin Salesman. Like, there's just come on. Like, I can't, like, again, another one that like from start to finish, you're never gonna like. It's one cohesive like thing for me, and this is the only one that rivals like Yes Ma'am as far as how many times I played it on the record player already. And that's because like the first 3 days I had this on vinyl, I played it nonstop. So like there's like, I played it like the first 2 days, I at least played it twice on the vinyl. Yeah. So you know what I mean? Like it's just, I just said so much about it recently. I don't feel like I really need to say much more other than go check it out, and it's going to blow your mind. It's just absolutely blows your mind. So yeah.
I think this was another moment for me where it was a record that came out that had many songs on it that we've been hearing live for a while. And so just like with Your Friends in Hell, it was that gratifying moment of like, now we hear the crafted recording version of it. Because like the live version of it can change. I mean, like most bands, I think the live versions of their songs are usually the same for a while, but then like they'll evolve and they'll grow, and you'll hear like some different, people will do some different things. And but it was cool to finally see Dana on stage, like doing whatever it is that she's doing with the chains that like they were doing in the studio. And like, so you have that gratifying moment of like, now we see the manifestation of this piece that they've been working on. So I think that was definitely a big one. And they were an honorable mention for me this year, only because I was trying to balance between like homies and like other bands and like everybody that we have. But my number one was unequivocally Massive Nightmares self-titled EP. Just fucking loved this record. Just was talking with Mike Doyle the other night before last, Friday night, night before last. Sweetheart of a guy, like the whole band. I haven't met all of them, but him and Tom are cool. And like, I was telling him, I was standing in Deep Cuts and we were talking about it, and I was like, Back to the Beach that's me. He's singing about me. Like if I could write that, like that is the song I wish I could write. Right? Like I wish that I could have written that song. It embodies me, right? I've been listening to Joni Mitchell's like Urge for Going or whatever it is, like the past couple of days, just in peak winter solstice misery. And like, I don't know, this whole record just feels like it's got my energy in it. and so anytime that happens and a band puts out some piece of art that I'm vibing with in that way, I just appreciate it. And so, yeah, this was, you can't listen to this record and not sing along to it.
You're right. Or help with the guitar solo in that song too.
Exactly. They like, and also I have not yet gotten to see them live. I have missed the last handful of shows they played. I was not able to make it. And so 2025 better be a treat for me to finally be able to go and see them, play. 'Cause I really want to go scream the lyrics to these songs and like put my arms around people like I did when I was in high school. It's just awesome. The vibes that it has.
Yeah,
so.
No, it really does. It's on my honorables for the EPs for sure. And like, he just nailed it. Everything you just said. Like, and like, I have an episode of them coming up too. And they were a blast to talk to. Our conversation ranges from like the sound of the band all the way to Micro Machines. So it was a good conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. All right. So that's our top five.
Top five.
All right. We can just like start rambling off. So I'll start with these are because like I have stupid categories for all my honorable mentions. There was just too many. And like you said, like just because a band didn't make the first list doesn't mean we think anything less of it. There was just so much that came out this year. How do you pick and choose? You know what I mean?
A fantastic year.
So, all right. So I'm going to ramble off. These are my top five, or not my top five. These are my honorable mentions for LPs that came out this year. Okay. The first one I got is the Bad Ups Life of Sin that dropped this year. Sammy K put out a banger of a record called July 1960. Yeah. Busy Weather's like a crunchy punk band from Asheville, North Carolina. They put out Look Up. It was awesome. I think their record sold out between Dead Broke and Anxious and Angry. They did like a split release. Megan from Hell Beach. Megan from Work's debut LP Girl Suit, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And one of my favorite conversations that I had this year with the podcast, for sure. And then my last one is another one that I had a great conversation with the person from. Early Riser, Big Life came out this year. This is their lead guitar is a cello.
Yeah.
And it's like folky pop punk. It's really good. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of like good things like hope, a lot of mental health talk on this record. I absolutely loved it. And I loved my conversation with Kiri from Early Riser as well. I actually just ordered, they just released, so I have all their records on vinyl, but then a few months or maybe a month or two ago, Big Life, they put out like a glow in the dark one. So I emailed her. I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna buy this glow in the dark record, but will you and the band sign it for me so I can put it in like how the yellow record is? So I'll have like a glow in the dark record too. You know,
put a black light on it.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, so that was so those are my LPs for 2024 that are honorable mentions. And again, there's probably more, but these are the ones that came to mind at the moment.
Oh, dude, it was so hard.
Yeah, how many did you got? You got a lot. You got
6.
enough to split.
No, I
them
just
up?
got 6.
Oh, okay,
I put together 6. First of all, I want to say I loved your episode with Sammy K.
Thank you.
And I loved your episode with Megan from work. Both just awesome episodes this year. It's so cool to hear I love hearing people's origin stories. I love hearing people's motivations. Sammy is like, I'm so intimidated by him. Like every time I've like been around him, I'm just like, oh dude, that dude's like a real one. That's like the type of dude that will like brass knuckle you if you like, piss him off. But he's such a good guy, and he embodies a musical spirit the way, I mean, it's clear to see his inspirations, right? Like clear to see his inspirations from Bruce Springsteen and Tom Waits and like those types of musicians and stuff like that. And he's like, but I'm always like, I've met him several times at like fests and like different events and different shows. And I've listened to his stuff for a while, and I was stoked that he did that episode with him. I think it's so cool how he did the tribute to his grandparents, and like it was just that was a great episode, and that's a great record. So I like, even now as we're talking, I'm like thinking about all the things like I didn't even get to put on my list because there literally were just so many. But my first, so I have 6. My first honorable mention is the band Slow Mosa. And they had their record is called Tundra Rock. They're a band that Jameson and I saw open for Alkaline Trio at the Casino Ballroom in Hampton Beach in New Hampshire. Just an incredible band. They're somewhere between punk and metal, punk metal and like alternative rock. They are from Norway. I just wanted to double check. Yeah, they're a Norwegian band. And they, I always appreciate bands that are on the road over here in the United States on like a big touring package like that like are from overseas. Cause it must be, I imagine, like really difficult and challenging to tour in the United States, even when you have a package that's like bringing you over. I don't know. I don't know, cause I've never done it, but like just knowing how shitty the United States is with like even, compensating bands to play at South by Southwest. It's like, I imagine it's a challenge. And so I always really appreciate and want to like support bands that are doing that. And so I bought their record right away after the show. They were amazing live. Like the energy was incredible. They were like perfectly suited to open for Alkaline Trio. And they were just a powerhouse on stage. So, they were like really awesome band. My next honorable mention was House of Harm's Playground, which you brought this year.
So
we were, again, in that 80s, like dark wave, post punk, like Cure kind of vibes. House of Harm fucking kills it.
We gotta get them, Mercy Ruin,
yes,
and Gossip Collar on a bill.
Yeah, or them, Mercy Ruin, and Homefront. That would be a fucking show.
Yeah,
dude. Like we had a good time with that one this year. So they were on my list. Number 3 was the Freaks' album Poachers. Love that band. The Freaks are like, again, like a heavy, fuzzy, just like manic fucking like kind of like alt rock punk metal. I don't even know. Again, they span a bunch of genres. They kind of fit into a bunch of different places, but they're heavy as fuck. Last time I saw them was on a bill with Billy at the Middle East, which was like on a Sunday, and it was so much fun. Back in the fall. They're like the end of the summer, like August or something like that. They were so good. So that record, I love that record. That was one of my highlights from this year. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 4 was Final Gasp. It was again, I want to call them a metal band, but they're more than there's more than metal going
There's
on.
more there. Yeah. Oh, that was from when we talked with Matt Alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So Final
So one of mine's
Gas's
from
record
that
was called
night.
Morning Moon. Morning like with a U, like when someone dies.
Yeah.
And they're just incredible. Like you put that record on, and within the first 30 seconds of it, you think it's going to be one thing, and then it launches into something else. They've just got, I don't know, they've got like punk and alt rock and fast parts, and then they got like these slow, sludgy stoner metal parts and doom metal parts, and then it just bounces back and forth, and it's like super fun. So I really want to see them live. And then number 6, my last honorable mention was, as you mentioned earlier, Yes Ma'am's How Many People, How Many Dogs, because it was
It's just fun.
exactly not what I thought it was going to be. Thought it was going to be a ska record based on the name.
You should have known better with me.
The first track, you're like, this is going to be a ska record, and then nope, it's cool, swampy folk, bluegrass punk.
Yeah. It's
Fun.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. So we had a great time with that one this year too.
Right on.
Yeah. So those are my 6 honorable mentions.
So my other EP that I because we talked about the 2 already because they were picks of yours. The new One Fall is really good.
Yes.
Really, really good. Now you introduced me to who did you introduce me to from that band at the BMAs?
Helen, Phil, Kyle,
Phil maybe? Phil.
They were all
I
there.
think. Yeah. Well, you were talking to somebody when I came over and you introduced me to him, and I was like, man, your new EP is such a ripper, and I felt like the biggest dork for saying that to him. But yeah, man, that's Spine First is really, really good. It's definitely worth checking out. 2 that I had from Turntable, I call it the Turntable Finest. It was 2 that didn't come out this year, but we talked about them on the Turntable. One is the 40 Reps record that Matt Alive brought. It's called Heads Up. That was back in September. I listened to that nonstop. It is so good. I'm really happy he brought that record for us. I'm happy we had a guest that day, for that month, and he brought that record because it's awesome. The other one is from our October episode, the Cybertronic Spree Ravage. I can't get enough of that, like 80s, like robot wearing outfits, and like, you know what I mean? Like that was a lot of fun.
Reminded me a little of like the Fantastic Plastic. There's a band called the Fantastic Plastics. They're like a synthy robot punk band that OC45 played with back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like a husband and wife team. It's just 2 of them.
That's awesome.
And they wear all kinds of crazy costumes and shit.
There was just so much. I mean, I was thinking about it too. Like I got into like not that I got into, but like I took some focus this year on different like sounds. Like I wanted some really doomy stuff this year. So like I've been listening to what's that band from Astral Bitch put out a song this year that was really good. The Couch Slut put out an album this year that was really good. They're like a power violence band out of woman-fronted power violence band out of New York. Slut Bomb is another one that's like power violence / hardcore out of Cincinnati. Like there's been a lot of stuff. I mean, Nox Novacula, The Drowns, they put out albums this year, and like they didn't make the list because there was just so many. There was just so much going on. Miracle Blood put out an album this year. It's awesome. You know what I mean? Like it's like Time and Place, couple singles. I'm trying to think of what Linnea's Garden put out an awesome EP. Like there's so much this year. Yeah. It's
We
wild.
can't hit them all, but we're trying.
We can't. Yeah. So I mean, just like look around. There's plenty of new music out there, and out of the bands I just named, there's so much like diversity in like their sound that there's got to be something for somebody, right? There's people who I think one of the reasons why we do this is because for me is I'm sick of hearing people tell me there's no good new music out there, and there's so much.
There's so much.
You just have to look for it. You can't be lazy.
And we were at the BMAs, and there was so many of the live performances were hip hop this year too. Like Boston has a thriving fucking hip hop scene.
Yeah, yeah. And I liked a lot of it. Like
I was word and like interpretive like. It's just there's so much cool shit. Like don't let anybody ever tell you. And if you're ever looking for inspiration, just listen to the Struggling Artist podcast weekly episodes as Trev interviews so many people who are from this area who are making really great art. So
yeah. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. I appreciate that. I guess that's the list. I'm really sad that we didn't get Chris's list because he has a ton of Buffalo music. But that's okay. You know, we can always let him ramble it off at some other point, or maybe I'll just add something to this later on for him so he can do that. But there's a lot of good music out there too. There's a lot of good music everywhere. We just have to look for it. That's just what it comes down to. Like, you got to find it. But we're here to help you, to assist you in that. Keep listening to the Struggling Artist Turntable episodes and the podcast and everything else we do over here. Join the record club. You want to hear new music? Join the Struggling Artist Record Club. We'll get you a new record every month. Guarantee you're not going to get an Out Come the Wolves. I'm not going to send Punk and Drublick. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to send you the stuff that you don't know.
yeah,
and
you're not going to get American Idiot.
Yeah. And I guarantee, like, no one has ever come back to me and said I didn't like a record. One guy one time said they said that it was okay, but it wasn't for them. But that was it. You know what I mean? So we're, you know, my track record's pretty
We're
good.
a step or two above those 1980s CD
Columbia
membership clubs. Sign up and get 15 records for $1 each or whatever, and then everything after that is $60. But yeah.
So I don't know. What do you got? Anything to plug? You got a show coming up?
I have nothing to plug at the moment, but I would say keep tuning into the show, because the episodes just keep getting better and better, and the music that we bring honestly impresses me more and more every time. And the episodes you're doing weekly with all of these artists themselves, from far and wide, are just never cease to be informative and entertaining and really interesting. So
thanks, man.
I
really do appreciate that.
The music that you're looking for, it's out there, and it's enjoyable to bring it to you. So
that's it. And all right, well, that's it for us. Thank you, Jeff, for joining.
2024.
Yeah,
See
right.
you next year,
man. Yeah. We'll see you next year. Well, I guess we'll see them this year, because this is going to drop in 2025. But yeah, we know what we're doing.
just
so
not almost.
almost, yeah. See ya.
Bye.